Hi everyone, this is Karthika, Faculty of Physics, working in SNS College of Engineering. So, today in this session, I am going to explain about the structure of a ecosystem, that is classification of the biotic components. So, in continuation with the ecology of the ecosystem, so we are going to discuss about the classification of the biotic components. So the classification of biotic components. So the members of biotic components of an ecosystem are grouped into three based how they are getting their food. So they are classified as producers, consumers and decomposers. So here the plants are comes under the producers and animals are comes under the consumers, and the microorganisms are comes under the micro microorganisms are comes under the decomposers. So first one is the producers. So producers may be called as autotrophs. So producers means they synthesize their food themselves through photosynthesis process. So for example, we can say that all the green plants and trees are comes under the producers, which they can produce their own food. So, what is the process of photosynthesis? The green pigment called chlorophyll present in the leaves of plants converts carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight into carbohydrates. So here we have a equation, that is carbon dioxide and water, so combined together with the help of sunlight can be converted into the sugar, that is carbohydrates, and that will release the oxygen. So this process is called photosynthesis. So this is the pictorial representation for the photosynthesis. So we know that every plant will take sunlight, water and carbon dioxide with themselves, and then that will make their own food. Sometimes that can be transferred through the um, uh, leaves and branches. Sometimes it can be stored itself as a carbohydrates, that is called as sugars. So this is some example pictorial representation of the green plants, that is algae, grass and trees. So the next one is consumers. They are also called as heterotrophs. So the classification of consumers are primary consumers, or that can be called as a herbivores or a plant eaters. Another name for herbivores are the plant eaters. Primary consumers are also called herbivores. They directly depend on the plants for their food. So they are called as the plant eaters. So the examples: insects, rat, goat and deer how. So these can have their food from the plants. Secondary consumers are primary carnivores. So they are also called as the meat eaters. Secondary consumers are primary carnivores. They feed on primary consumers. They directly depend on the herbivores for their food. So for example, frog eat snakes, small birds. They can have their food from the other animals directly. And territory consumers are secondary carnivores, meat eater. Territory consumers are secondary carnivores. They feed on secondary consumers. They depend on the primary carnivores for their food. So eagle, hawk, tiger, lion. So these are the secondary carnivores. They will eat the primary carnivores for their food. So that's why they are called as the territory consumers. So this is the pictorial representation of the that is primary and secondary consumers. So first one is the producer and second one is the primary consumer, so which will take leaf as a food, and third one is the secondary consumer which will eat the primary consumers, and third one is the tertiary consumers, they are called as secondary carnivores. Third one is the omnivores. So omnivores, that is nothing but they feed both plants and animals. Example, we are the human, we will eat both plants and animals, and rat and birds also. There comes under the omnivores. Detritivores, they feed on dead organisms, weights of living being and partially decomposed matter. So they will live on the dead animals or dead plants. So example, termites, earthworms, ants. So these are comes under the decomposed organisms. And finally they are called as the decomposers. So they will attack consumers and decompose them into simple components. So during the decomposition, inorganic nutrients are released. The inorganic nutrients together with other organic substances are then utilized by the producers for the synthesis of their own food. So abiotic. So next we'll go with the abiotic components. So that is nothing but classified into that is physical and chemical. And for example for abiotic component is nothing but climate, soil, water, air and energy. So what would be the physical component? Include energy, climate, nutrients or living space, so that our biological community needs, so they are useful for growth and maintenance of its member. Example, air, water, soil, sunlight. Chemical components, they are the sources of essential of nutrients, so organic substances, protein, lipids and carbohydrates, and inorganic substances, so that will comes like elements. Thank you.